passing a massive jellyfish just a second ago. It was fucking huge. Yeah, it was like really far down, but you could just see how big it was. So we headed off again for the ferry, and about 20 minutes down the road we come across these strawberry, raspberry and blueberry bushes. So obviously we stopped, because every time we found these, and in Norway there was so many of these, we would stockpile for like 2-3 days, and then we'd have porridge for breakfast with fresh strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and half a tub of Nutella. But they were so good, like they were the best strawberries I've ever tasted. Anyway, 40 minutes down the road, we stopped off at these toilets, and like, if you're travelling on the road and you see a nice block of toilets, even if you don't need to go, you stop and you use the toilets, because you don't know when the next ones are coming. So I sat in this toilet, and there was a window that looked out to the mountains and the fjords, and no joke, this window was like an epic picture. It was amazing. I just sat on the toilet, and there was this glacier right there, like in this window. So our plans changed for the day. We stopped at the toilets. Behind the toilets was a motherfucking glacier. That's what I put down in my diary. So we found a nice spot to park up, built a fire, and chilled out in front of the glacier for the day. We were going to go and attempt to climb over like to the glacier this day, but it was like really cloudy and a bit rainy and drizzly, and we checked the weather forecast and the weather looked better the next day, so we decided to chill out for the day in front of this glacier and then climb it the next day. Oh yeah, we even attempted to kayak over, but it was a bit chilly, so we decided to wait till the morning after, till the weather got better. And I remember this day. It's not in the diary, but I do remember. We didn't have a fridge in the caddy. It broke like maybe 10 days into the trip, or maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it broke in Denmark. I don't know. Anyway, we didn't have a fridge, and we had this block of cheese, and the cheese was getting like really, really soft, and it needed to be eaten. So we literally made this omelette, and it was like the cheese was the egg and the egg was the cheese. It was disgusting, but we didn't want to waste the cheese, because if you've ever bought cheese in Norway, you know how expensive it is. So anyway, the next day we get up, sun's out, it's still a little bit cloudy, but it's better weather than it was the day before. So on the kayak over, the water was like so flat and the sea was so clear. It's not even a sea, it's like a fjord. We seen so many jellyfish, I mean literally so many, and they were like probably bigger than that, because you could see so far down because it was so clear. And we researched the jellyfish, because there was one day there was an actual jellyfish next to the kayak, and it was one of those, we researched it afterwards, and it was a lion mane jellyfish, and they're like one of the most dangerous jellyfish that you can get. So we're quite glad we didn't go swimming in the fjords, because we now know that they live in there, and we were determined not to fall out of our kayaks, not just because of the jellyfish, because the water was cold. So the kayak over, Lauren did her usual, and she moaned the whole way over, which I got very used to very quickly travelling with her, because that was just her thing. She would like to moan, and I would have a switch off button where I would just completely ignore her and let her carry on with her moan. Yeah, I know, I've gathered that. I've already gone into ignoring you mode. What we thought was going to probably take us about half an hour probably took us an hour and a half, because we were pissing about, taking photos. Lauren had this thing where she was trying to catch jellyfish on a kayak paddle and then flicker over to the other side of the kayak. I was just trying to get out of the way of the boat that kept going back and forth. So yeah, the kayak over was interesting and tiring. And then we got to the other side, and the walk up was like really beautiful. Like it was a basic footpath, so you couldn't really get lost, because it was easy. It was an easy footpath to follow. There was moose on the side. There was like yeah, there was all the trees with all the blueberries that we ended up picking, and then we got to the top of this footpath and come to this like a massive lake with the glacier just right in front of it. It was just incredible. So we pissed about there for a little bit, took a load of photos, picked some more blueberries, and then we walked around the glacier, around the lake. Some waterfalls were like all the way down the sides, and it was just stunning. It was like proper stunning. And the excitement, we were both so excited, like just getting closer and closer to this glacier, and it was just so big and so blue, and so the noise as well. The noises from it was like the water, like the sounds of the dripping of the glacier, like parts cracking and falling off, and just all of these things. I don't know. It was just magical. Really, really magical. So the glacier was just so beautiful. There was so many shades of blue. It was like the icebergs in Iceland, but underneath the glacier was just the blues like I'd never seen before in my life. There was like the light blues, the dark blues, like there was probably about 50 shades of blue in like one bit of ice, and there was blacks, and then there's whites, and then there was purples, and just the colours is just unreal. And I don't think I've got any photos like that capture the colour. Like I don't think you can capture it on a camera. It's just so, oh, well, you probably could if you were a good photographer, but fuck me, the colours are incredible. So after acting like a big kid at the top of the glacier for probably about an hour, we decided to make our way down. This time I took the blue route down, scrambled all the way down. It was really fun. There was like loads of little waterfalls you had to go through and jump down, and I love scrambling rocks. It's just one of my little things. I just love scrambling. I don't really like rock climbing, but scrambling across rocks, I love it. Right, this is what I loved about travelling. Like, we were literally on the way to the ferry to go further down south, and then we could stop and do this because it was there, and we were there, and it just happened, and that's what's so amazing. Like I walked back down from the glacier, went back to the kayaks, got back to the kayaks just in time because they were almost in the water. We had pulled them up into these reeds thinking that they'd be safe there, and the water had obviously risen, and yeah, and nearly had to swim back. But then I just sat there waiting for Lauren because she was still collecting blueberries, and I was just thinking, what's just happened? That's just unreal. Like, I've just touched a glacier. Like, never in my life did I think I'd do that. Never in my life had I think I'd even see one. And I just drove around a corner and it was there, and it was just incredible. It was this syndrome that I found that we had travelling, and every day was like the best day ever. And I call it best day ever syndrome because every single day something would happen. We would look at each other and we go, "Oh my god, this is the best day ever." And it could be something as little as meeting the people that we met, or seeing something that we've never seen, or like seeing like the wildlife, and it's just incredible. So we set off back from the kayaks, absolutely shattered. We made it back. I was knackered. We both needed a shit. So we headed up to the toilets, topped up our waters, went for a shit, and I shaved my legs in the sink. These were really posh toilets, so we made the most of them. So after we made great use of the facilities, we drove down to the ferry and ended up sleeping there as there was none running for the next day. The soundtrack to this drive was Kings of Leon. This made me very happy. Absolutely shattered. I pretty much passed out and slept for like 10 hours. So that's the end of this week's episode. Apologies if I rambled, and I think I'm gonna ramble in these ones because I remember things like that. I read the diary and then other things come back to me, and it's just it's kind of like take me back into the moment and kind of get all like wrapped up in it. I will leave in the description below where this glacier was, because I never read anything like that, but I know I can find it back on Google Earth. So I'll leave in the description where the glacier was, and yeah, if you've been to Norway and you know what I'm on about, hit the like button. If you haven't been to Norway, just try and get there. Just stunning country, absolutely stunning. See you next week.